The following is a presentation of the Women's Football Alliance.
We've got big matchups and big announcements this week on the road to Canton. Welcome to another episode of The Road to Canton. I'm Brian Sweeney, the voice of the WFA Pro Division National Championship. This week, we'll look back on the Week 3 scores and highlights. Lois Cook is here to tell us what every player in the WFA can't live without. And of course, we'll throw in a few surprises along the way. But first, your scores and highlights from Week 3. Boston moved to 2-0 with dreams of another perfect season when they traveled to Tampa and returned home with their second road win of the season by beating the Inferno 47-0. Detroit picked up their first win of the year and moved to 1-1 by beating the Capital City Savages on the road 21-12. The Dallas Elite Mustangs also moved to 1-1 on the season with a 39-0 victory over the Gulf Coast Monarchy. And with the first forfeit in a Pro Division game this season, the Cali War moves to 2-0 after the Kern County Crusaders elected not to play. Last week in Low on the Go, we met twin 12-year-olds that are playing tackle football in their hometown. This week, Lois is back to let us know what every player needs on game day in Low on the Go.
Wake up at 5 a.m., say a special prayer, put on special underwear, or do that first. Kiss the lucky egg, eat some turf, never wash the jersey. Oh, hey! I didn't even see you there. I'm just going over game day rituals and superstitions and things that, that players need for game day. I wonder what the WFA players can absolutely not play without. I'm glad you asked the question. Let's go find out.
One thing I cannot play without is long sleeves.
My orange cleat. Calf. Sleeves.
These hands!
It's gummy bears.
I wouldn't be able to play a single game of football without a good, sturdy belt.
Gummy bears, gummy worms, gummy apples.
One thing I can't play without is my compression socks.
And the towel. Gummy whatever, like I like it all.
Gotta have my gloves.
I am DK Metcalf, only a smaller female version, and that's despite the point.
The one thing I can't play football without is my war paint, aka my mojo. It gives me confidence.
Definitely a healthy brain.
My ACO.
So I need gummy bears to fuel myself from beginning, middle, and end of practices. I will even eat them during halftime of games, and it just gives me the energy to get through it all.
I can't play without my hair braided by Taylor Hay.
And I can't play without my teammates.
My natural hyperness is not because I was born with it. It's because I'm like a little kid and I'm fueled with sugar. Yes, this sits in the trunk of my car.
I've had the honor of playing with some really awesome coaches, and unfortunately some of them have passed. So to honor them, every game I play with them on my shoulders. And I do this by having their names on some type of undergarment that I wear, but I won't play without it. So for me, this is what I need.
Wow, so we've gone near and far across the WFA to get these answers, to find out what it is that players actually need on game day, what they cannot play without. And there's so many differences, but there is one thing that everyone can agree on, that we cannot play without support from you. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts for supporting the WFA.
these hands.
We'll be right back. The Women's Football Alliance wants to thank their sponsors, KT Tape, Coors Light, Wilson, Aid Nation, Zenith, Hall of Fame Resort and Entertainment Company, Secret, and the NFL Alumni Academy. Thank you for your support of the Women's Football Alliance. Welcome back. For the first time this season, all 11 Pro Division teams will be playing in the same weekend, along with 3 matchups of Pro versus Pro. Here are this week's matchups for the WFA Pro Division. The 1-0 Pittsburgh Passion play their first home game of the season when they welcome Division II's 0-2 Tri-State Warriors. Pittsburgh is coming off a bye week and the Warriors off of a 24-0 loss to the New York Wolves. The 1-1 Tampa Bay Inferno look to rebound from last week's loss to Boston when they welcome the 2-0 Orlando Anarchy of Division III. So far this season, Orlando has already outscored their opponents by a total of 50 points. And even though Tampa lost last week, they put up 76 points in their opening contest. St. Louis at 1-1 plays their first game at home this season, and after last week's bye, are looking for a second win when they host Division II's 1-1 Derby City Dynamite. The 1-1 DC Divas travel for the first time this season when they head to Baltimore to play the 1-1 Division II Nighthawks. Even though they lost their last game, DC did manage to put up more points on the Renegades in Week 2 than any other team has done since June of 2019. These teams met in Week 1, with DC coming out on top 67-6. After not being able to host last weekend due to forfeit, the Cali War, now 2-0, look to give their fans something to celebrate when they welcome Division III's 3-0 Arizona Outcast. Arizona has been averaging 44 points per game, but Cali War has not given up a single point so far this season. And in WFA Pro head-to-head matchups this week, 2 tough Texas teams meet on the field when the 1-1 Dallas Elite Mustangs travel to play the 2-0 Arlington Impact. Dallas is hoping they can build on last week's win, and Arlington wants to move to 3-0 before traveling to play at Minnesota next week, the team that eliminated them from the 2021 playoffs. The 2-0 Boston Renegades begin their home campaign by welcoming the 1-1 Detroit Venom. Boston is looking to win their 25th straight game, whereas Detroit looks to move to a winning record. And in the WFA Game of the Week, the 2-0 Minnesota Vixen travel for the first time this season for their first ever meeting with the 1-0 Nevada Storm. Both teams were on a bye last week, so the players will be well rested, and the winner of this game will have control of the American Conference in the Massey ratings entering the midpoint of the season. Alex Wested is here to break down the Vixen and Storm matchup.
Thanks, Brian. WFA's Pro Division Game of the Week in week number 4 features a first-time matchup, as the Minnesota Vixen will head to the mountains of Reno, Nevada to take on the Nevada Storm. Both of these teams enter this contest after bye weeks in week number 3. We'll first look at the visitors, the Minnesota Vixen. In Minnesota's last game out in week number 2, they thoroughly defeated the St. Louis Slam by a final score of 41-6. Did not look as though Minnesota was going to cruise to victory in the early going, though, as St. Louis was able to score first. 41 unanswered points for the Minnesota Vixen gave Minnesota victory over their fierce rival, the St. Louis Slam. The offense that day for Minnesota was led by star running back number 42, Grace Cooper, whose 4 rushing touchdowns paced the Minnesota offense. Cooper has 27 carries for 246 yards this season and a long of 34, which resulted, of course, in a touchdown. Cooper is the leading rusher in the WFA Pro Division with 246 yards. Next closest is Scott for the DC Divas with 205, and the closest player on the Nevada Storm is Jasmine Plummer, but we'll talk about her in just a little moment. For years, Minnesota's offense was featured in a very run-heavy style. Last year with quarterback Aaron McIsaac still relying on Grace Cooper, and 2 years ago being almost a run-heavy offense, where we did not see the offense go through the air very frequently. Instead, this year, a new quarterback for Minnesota has emerged, Aaron Kelly. Kelly 11 for 24 so far this season, averaging 15.5 per completion for 171 yards. If we take a look at the WFA Pro Division passing statistics, that would put her fourth in terms of yards, behind Janelle Thomas of the DC Divas. Kelly looks to change the game, as so far her passing has been particularly strong and allows that offense to be a dual threat offense. Her favorite target so far this season is Jackie Radford, 7 receptions so far for 67 yards, but the most yards have gone to wide receiver Sam Barber, whose 2 touchdowns in the opening week game against the Iowa Phoenix gave Minnesota life and gave them excellence on that side of the ball. Barber excels on both sides of the ball as well. She leads Minnesota in total tackles with 18. Aside from players not in the St. Louis Slam organization, Sam Barber is the leading tackler in the WFA Pro Division. They're also led by sacks by Sam Barber, with 3 so far this season. They've had 4 interceptions as well, 2 by Ace Tyson, 1 by Jody Williams, and 1 by Megan Dixon. In fact, 2 of the 4 interceptions Minnesota's had have gone the distance for a pick 6. They will have their work cut out for them, however, with a very difficult matchup in the Nevada Storm. Nevada, a team that a year ago played at the WFA 2 division level, winning the championship against the Detroit Dark Angels. Nevada has played just 1 contest so far this season in Denver, Colorado in week 2, a 22-8 victory over the Mile High Blaze. It was a rushing attack featured again for the Nevada Storm, as Jasmine Plummer, one of the star running backs in the WFA Pro and the leading rusher at the Division II level a season ago, carried the offense, literally and figuratively. 15 carries for 139 yards, along of 59 from her longest play from scrimmage, and 2 touchdowns that allowed the Nevada Storm to defeat the Mile High Blaze. Their quarterback, Mo Achin, had 3 attempts through the air and will have to be one of the stars for the Nevada Storm, as Minnesota features a very strong run-heavy defense and will need to be excellent in passing the ball. If we take a look at the Nevada Storm, they attack you defensively from any of a number of areas. Sarah Coangelo leads the team in tackles with a combined 6, including 2 tackles for loss. Jade Sanchez, Sarah Anderson, and Jessie Felker also assist with a very strong and mobile Nevada Storm defense. Just 1 sack for Nevada in their game against the Mile High Blaze. Jessie Felker had it, as well as a forced fumble. An interception as well by Andy Jackson. They did a great job of making sure that they were able to dominate the defensive side of the ball. Minnesota will not be able to move that ball easily. In fact, if we take a look as well, punt returns, they did not do too many, but Allison Adams was able to pin the Mile High Blaze back deep. It did not give them very much opportunity, as the defense for the Nevada Storm held to just 8 points. To me, the game comes down to 2 things. 1, if we look for our key for the Nevada Storm, it will be how well are they able to contain running back Grace Cooper. That was my key to the game when Minnesota hosted St. Louis, where Minnesota had to contain the running attack of Taylor Hay. Minnesota was able to do so. Nevada will have to contain Grace Cooper and force Aaron Kelly to throw the football to be able to come away with victory in Nevada this game. On the other side, for me, the key to Minnesota's victory will have to be forcing quarterback Achin to throw the other way. As we mentioned, 3 attempts by Achin in the first matchup for Nevada this season against the Mile High Blaze. There were no completions. They will have to force the quarterback to be the one that beats Minnesota. If they are able to force the quarterback and not Jasmine Plummer to be the run that is the reason for victory on that day, they will be able to walk away with victory. This game, as far as games that we've had so far this season, we talked about Boston and DC having massive playoff implications in the Massey ratings. The same can be said for this matchup. Currently, Minnesota is number 1 in the American Conference in terms of the Massey ratings, but Cali and Nevada are right on their heels. A win in this contest for the Nevada Storm would likely leapfrog them over the Minnesota Vixen in terms of the Massey ratings. Considering as well that Nevada will play the Cali War, the team currently ahead of them, 2 more times this season in a home-and-home series. With a win, one could think Minnesota likely would have that home field advantage throughout the playoff wrapped up. However, if Nevada is able to win, and say perhaps even if they split that series with the Cali War, all of a sudden the top of the American Conference is wide open. Not just with Cali, Minnesota, and Nevada at the top of it, but Arlington and St. Louis on their heels as well. It's in Minnesota's hands how they choose to handle this contest, and if they win, they'll be in the driver's seat. If not, there are 6 other teams in the American Conference looking to be the ones on the top of the mountain on the road to Canton.
We'll be right back. The Women's Football Alliance wants to thank their sponsors, KT Tape, Coors Light, Wilson, Aid Nation, Zenith, Hall of Fame Resort and Entertainment Company, Secret, and the NFL Alumni Academy. Thank you for your support of the Women's Football Alliance. This past week, a major announcement was made between the Women's Football Alliance and Fast Studios. The WFA is proud to announce that their Pro Division playoff games will be broadcast on the Women's Sports Network. Women's Sports Network will be a free 24/7 ad-supported streaming service. For more information on this announcement or to find out where you can get the Women's Sports Network, head on over to WFAProFootball.com or WomenSports.com. There is so much going on as we enter the 4th week of the season, so make sure you're supporting the teams, the players, and the WFA sponsors. For Alex Wested, Brandy J., and Lois Cook, I'm Brian Sweeney, and we'll see you next week on the road to Canton.
Thank you for watching the preceding presentation from the Women's Football Alliance.